What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another video on the channel. And in today's video I'll be doing my round 9 AFL tips of the 2023 season, so let's get straight into it. In round 8 I got 5 out of 9, not good at all. It was a pretty easy round to tip. I just went for too many silly upsets. Carlton, I don't blame myself tipping them. Richmond got that right, Geelong got that right, Melbourne, they probably should have lost that in the end in my opinion. Gold Coast were the better team but they won. Bulldogs got that right, and then Hawthorn, like that's just a silly upset that I thought would happen, but Fremantle finally put together a good performance and got the win. And Essendon, well, it wasn't even that bad in the end. They only lost by 5 points, but I should probably just back in Port Adelaide being the home team. And Sydney, well, I was never going to tip against my team, and St Kilda got that right. So let's begin the round 9 tips. Alright, first game of round 9 is between Richmond and Geelong, setting up to be a pretty decent Friday night clash. Richmond season on absolute thin ice. They're 2-5 on a draw. I guess if you think about it, there is still plenty of rounds left and Richmond will get some players back like Tom Lynch later in the season. And I guarantee it, because I'm not tipping an upset, Richmond will actually win this game. But anyway, I reckon Geelong will be too good here and win this game by 31 points. And of course, this is the second game on the Friday night, probably because Mother's Day crowds aren't the best and they didn't want to have 3 games on a Sunday, so they moved one of them to the Friday night. So this game was probably supposed to be Sunday. But anyway, West Coast versus Gold Coast at Optus Stadium. West Coast disappointed against Richmond. They were in the game for a fair bit of it, and then they just failed to stay competitive and Richmond got the win. And Gold Coast, very impressive in my opinion. Their contested ball winners were just fantastic with Rao and Anderson, and they are really a dangerous team and can be a very good team on the day. I reckon Gold Coast will be too strong here and will win this game by 37 points. And then moving on to the SCG between the Sydney Swans and Fremantle Dockers. Swans, I felt like were pretty good against Collingwood. I felt like they were dominating the match in the second and third quarter, but just missed every single shot on goal. And they did get hammered with free kicks. 24-10 is a bit of a joke in my opinion. And then Collingwood turned it on in the last quarter and ended up winning by 29 points. And Fremantle were very impressive, of course, against Hawthorn. They played very well and finally put together a good performance, as I mentioned before. It's at the SCG. I know Sydney haven't been the best there, but to be honest, they should have been undefeated there this year. Of course, they beat Hawthorn there, and then Giants and Port Adelaide, they were 20 plus points up in both of those games in the last quarter and managed to lose. If we won those 2 games, we'll be sitting in the top 8 right now, comfortably in 7th place. But because we choked those 2 games, we're all the way down here in 12th right now. I reckon Sydney will be too good against Fremantle, but I reckon it will be a close game, and I reckon Sydney will get the job done by 13 points in a thriller. And then moving on to Tasmania between the North Melbourne Kangaroos and Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide looking very good. Geez, they almost choked against Essendon because of how inaccurate they were, but luckily for them, they managed to get the win. They're pretty good in close games this year. They've won a lot of games under 3 goals. And North Melbourne were actually okay against the Kilda in one of probably the worst matches of the year to watch. It was very low scoring, but they didn't look too bad. I guess only losing by 5 goals is a bit of a win for them. But yeah, I can't see North Melbourne competing against Port here. I reckon Port Adelaide will win this game by 34 points, but North Melbourne at times will put up a decent fight. And then moving on to Hawthorn versus Melbourne at the MCG. Hawthorn extremely disappointing against Fremantle. They were actually very competitive in a lot of their matches and could have easily had more than 1 win. They probably do deserve at least 2 wins, but they're sitting on 1 win. And Melbourne, of course, were decent against Gold Coast, but I felt like they got outplayed Melbourne for most of that match and they got very lucky to win. If you look at the stat sheet, Gold Coast pretty much dominated every stats, especially contested possessions. They just thrashed Melbourne in the midfield and they need to respond here against Hawthorn, and I reckon they will respond and win this game comfortably by 42 points. And then moving on to the Gabba between Brisbane and Essendon. Brisbane, I feel like they showed a lot of maturity in that win against Carlton. They really are a very mature side and should be going deep into the final series this year. And Essendon, they're just a little bit slowing down. They're not really looking like a top 8 team anymore. But to be honest, they have been putting up pretty good fights in all of their losses. They could have won a lot of games still. They probably could be sitting on 7 wins. But I reckon at home, Brisbane will be way too strong and win this game by 24 points, only 4 goals. I reckon Essendon will put up a good fight. And then Carlton versus Western Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium. This is set to be a pretty interesting contest. This is probably a 50-50 game. I don't know who to tip here. Carlton disappointing against Brisbane. They need to bounce back. And the Bulldogs coming off a good win over the Giants. I was going to tip the Bulldogs, however I kind of have a feeling Carlton's forward line will get on top, Kilda and Mackay looking to respond, and I reckon Carlton will win this game by 16 points. And then at Adelaide Oval, Adelaide versus St Kilda, and Adelaide coming off a loss against Geelong. I felt like Adelaide played really well against Geelong at times. The margin was only a couple kicks with 5 minutes left, but then Geelong kicked away at the lucky end. So they were competitive for most of that match, and they probably do need to win this game to jump back in the top 8, and I reckon they will. I reckon Adelaide will win this game by 17 points. And then Collingwood versus the Giants at the MCG. If Giants win this game, it will probably be one of the biggest upsets in a very long time. I cannot see them winning this game at all, especially with how well Collingwood are going at the moment. I reckon Giants could compete with them at times, but I reckon ultimately Collingwood will be the better team here and win this game by 36 points. And there you go guys, those are my round 9 tips of the AFL 2023 season. This is what the ladder looks like. But anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a big fat thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.